Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special sports stream. I'm going to be the host tonight, Alec Bobko, and joining me is Brett Jamerson, Jose Ruckus, and Kyle Stevenson. How you guys doing tonight?
Yo,
Doing great.
Pretty good, man.
Alrighty, so decided to do this. We don't normally get to talk about sports too much, being a lot of our content is more media and gaming focused. So let's get a little group together. I know Chris was supposed to join us, but he is unfortunately under the weather. So if he is able to join us, he'll hop in a bit later. But we're gonna start off with some introductions. So we'll just go around in order and say favorite team and favorite NFL moment or moments. So Brett, let's start with you.
okay, so favorite NFL team is obviously the Panthers. You know, I'm a Colts fan, and my favorite Colts memory, just because I follow them the closest, has to be the massive comeback against the Chiefs in the playoffs like 10 years ago. I was downtown at the time in Indy. I didn't go to the game, but I went to the Pacers game that was playing at the same time because the Pacers were really good too. And I remember just getting the update on my phone, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. I was like, what is going on? Like, is my phone busted? Like, is the reception janky in the stadium? I go out to the lobby. The Pacers are blowing out the Pelicans at that time. And like 70% of the Pacers fans there were out in the lobby watching the Colts game. And I saw that massive bomb to TY to put the Colts up on the TV, and everyone was cheering, and it was such a special memory, man. It really was. It was awesome.
All right, let's go with Kyle next.
My favorite team is the New York Football Giants. It's been a rough few years. I'm very happy to have a playoff-bound team. My favorite NFL moments, I'm going to group a whole bunch in. It's just the playoffs, the first time the Giants beat the Patriots.
Oh yeah.
Just single one of those games, I think, were super special. Even the second time too. And individual plays, like obviously the helmet catch and the Mario Manningham on the sideline. Oh my God, Eli Manning is a god. I don't care what anyone says. And then just selfishly at a game, I was at a Giants or the former team of the Commander's name. I don't want to say it.
Yeah.
It was like a last minute, like 90-yard Victor Cruz touchdown, and the entire stadium going crazy, and we were all salsaing in the stands. It was a great time. Yeah, so I think those would be my favorite moments for sure.
Alrighty, Jose, what about yours?
So yeah, Seattle Seahawks. Man, I've got a lot of really awesome memories of the team and like just the NFL in general, but like two that are always gonna like stick with me is one, the very first snap of the Seahawks' first, Super Bowl win, where it's loud as hell in the stadium. The Broncos hike it. It flies past Peyton Manning's face. The look on Peyton's face as the ball soars by, just like from that moment on, it was just like, oh, we got him. Like the entire game, we just beat the hell out of him and stuff. So that's always gonna be a great memory. But a smaller one that probably nobody even remembers outside of Seahawks fans. But the Seahawks 49er rivalry was so big in like 2011 to up until fairly recently when it's been kind of one-sided. They had like so many good games, so many good moments, but there's just this one hit of Cam Chancellor. Vernon Davis makes like a sideline catch, taps the toes, and Cam Chancellor just lights him up in the perfect form tackle ever. The ball goes flying out of his hands, incomplete pass, huge moment in the game. And I rewatch that hit at least once a month because it's the best hit in NFL history. I swear to God.
I'll take a look at that after this.
Yeah.
As far as mine goes, I'm a diehard fan of the Detroit Lions, and a couple of my favorite moments, real quick, is I can technically say I saw Barry Sanders play. I was very young.
Awesome.
Don't remember it, but I can still say it. I was at the game where Calvin Johnson broke the receiving yards record. And the guy next to me, he was like a professional photographer, had like the whole kit and caboodle, like lenses and everything. And we were just like, hey, do you mind sending me some of those pictures? Like, I'm just like a kid at this point, like maybe high school, if that. And he gave me my email address and he sent me some really nice pictures from the game.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And I'd say the big one though is a moment that I actually talked about on content, our one-off episode of the History of Hype. And it was in Stafford's rookie season when they played against the Browns. It was a blackout game, and it was actually the game where he broke his shoulder. He went down, and it's actually a great NFL mic'd up moment. You can see on YouTube, and he goes down, and he's literally like saying to the sideline, "It's out." Like he can feel that's out of its socket, and so he goes out of the game. But then he's like, I gotta play. I gotta come back in. So they put Dante Culpepper in for a play. But then the next play, Stafford's back out because they got the touchdown. And then they needed the 2-point to win. And Stafford comes in for the 2-point conversion and wins us the game.
That's
and,
awesome.
Being a Lions fan, I was a fan through the 0-16 season. So I know bad teams. And let me tell you, there's been some bad quarterbacks. Joey Harrington, John Kitna, Dan Orlovsky, just to name a few.
Hey, Dan Orlovsky, excellent analyst, though.
Yes, but there's a reason they call it polling an Orlovsky when you run out the back of the end zone.
Colts legend.
Yeah. But the fact that we had Stafford, and I was going to say, that's my quarterback, was just, such a great moment.
That's awesome. I just realized or remembered now that the Lions had Dante Culpepper for a time.
Oh yeah.
That's
like for a season or two.
Like that's wild.
He bounced around for a while.
Yeah,
he did.
He
was with the Vikings and the Dolphins and then the Lions. Like he was all over the place.
We had Ronnie Bell for like not even a day. We were supposed to have him, but he didn't pass his physical, so he went back to the Dolphins.
I'll be completely honest. Not that the Giants need a running back. I am so jealous that you have Jamal Williams.
I love him.
I want him on my team so
my
bad.
Favorite player. Like just personality alone. Like yeah, he's a good running back and all that, but just his personality. Like when IGN posts a video of Jamal Williams, I'm like, what? Like, because he's wearing like all these Naruto headbands talking about Pokemon, and it's like, this is my guy.
So. Well, yeah, last season it was his first season on the Lions, right? They picked him up from Green Bay, and he had that video that made him really popular, where he's talking about how he was just grateful to be on the Lions, that like they had picked him up, and now he loves the Lions and stuff. But like this year, he's like taking it to like that dude's like a full personality in the way that like not a lot of NFL players like are.
Alrighty, so now we got that out of the way. We're gonna start with a little regular season recap, and I think the biggest thing right now going on in the NFL is the whole thing with Damar Hamlin. And it was a couple weeks ago on Monday Night Football, he had just kind of collapsed and was unconscious. So the coaches actually, not the NFL, actually made the right decision to cancel the game, and they got rushed to the hospital, and they just ended up just canceling the game. So, and I just saw a tweet before the stream that he is back in Buffalo. He is in a stable condition. They're running more tests just to see what's going on, and so it's at least good that he's back in Buffalo. He's not in Cincinnati. Just got released, what was it, yesterday or Sunday, I believe?
Yeah.
So, any thoughts on that whole scenario or that whole incident?
That's just a crazy situation, man, because it's something that like you're used to seeing like massive injuries in the NFL, right? It's a tough league to watch at times. Like you have like the Ryan Shazier hit. As a Seahawks fan, I remember like watching the Ricardo Lockett hit where he got a blind side on a kick return. And like we thought that he died like on the field.
Oh, geez.
It was a terrible hit. Like it like stopped the game for like a really long time. He ended up being okay. Like we've seen some like terrible hits where you're like, oh my God, that's awful. This is a completely different situation because it's literally something that like wasn't even totally aware was possible in football for somebody to get hit in a way that it stops their heart.
Yeah.
So
We've
that
seen
was
that
definitely
tackle like 5 times in every game every week.
it was a perfect tackle. That's how
exactly.
you're supposed to tackle
Yeah.
somebody.
Mhm.
And just like the way that it happened, and that it was a defensive back and a receiver. Like these aren't the big guys hitting each other either. So it was shocking. It's amazing that the medical staff was able to react so quickly, and that Damar ended up being, it seems like things are going to be at least way better than what we initially thought they would be, because we honestly thought he was probably going to die. So it's just crazy.
So Kyle, Brett, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to applaud the players and coaches for stopping the game. I'm not sure what the actual reality was, but I had read that like the league and execs wanted to continue the game after a brief pause, and so just for the players, standing up with their convictions and stopping the game. And then that's the most important thing. And then also like there are creative ways to like get around with like the less like the playoff seedings with like the coin flips and stuff like that. It's pretty wild to see how creative like the league can get when crazy stuff happens.
They actually put their mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's one of the scariest things I've seen as a longtime wrestling fan. It reminds me of Owen Hart falling from the rafters. I remember as a kid watching that on pay-per-view and being like in terror for a couple days. I vaguely remember when I was way younger, I believe it was a Lions Jets game and somebody collapsed and it was like a long break. I think it was a lineman. I think he had like a cardiac issue. And it reminds me of that. And it's just so scary how a simple hit interrupts the heart rhythm. And then it's like, it's done. We were watching a man dying on the field. Like it's so sad, but obviously he's great now, which makes me so happy, makes everyone hopefully feel happy for him. And my favorite thing out of this whole situation, which is weird to say, is like how Buffalo, the first play of the next game, they run it back for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like it's moments like that where like I tweeted about it. Like how can you not be romantic about sports? How can you not love these unique organic storyline things that happen? It's like the best story TV possible. Baseball has it, NFL, every sport has it. It's just like the Buffalo runs it back first play of the game. I believe his high school teammate, I forgot what team it was on. Maybe the Texans intercepted the ball to win the game. And then they run over to the 30-yard line and do a whole celebration at the 3. Like, I love when the league comes together. And like in the grand scheme of things, I hope that this is a like pushing point for the NFL to actually like treat the players a little bit better. Like there's a lot that came out behind the scenes of like how he's not a vested player, so if he never played down in the league again, he wouldn't get paid or a pension or be insured or whatever. Like,
yeah, he's never even started a full season, right? Because he came in because of a previous injury that a safety had already had.
Gotcha.
I think this is something that like football fans really should remember when it comes to the next CBA getting renegotiated, and there's talk about a potential player lockout. That like Damar Hamlin, luckily, he's going to get his full contract, right? They've made an agreement with the Players Association. They made an agreement with the NFL. They're going to pay him out his full contract. If you tear your ACL, that's not the case. If you get concussions and you can't play football anymore, that's not the case, right? If this Damar Hamlin situation had never happened, this season would probably, like injury-wise, would have been remembered for the 2 awful concussions that Tua Tagovailoa took this season. So I think fans really do need to remember this kind of thing when the next CBA comes up, that like the healthcare situation, the way injured reserve players are taken care of after these kind of things, it's not fine. And if it requires us to like miss a season for them to get better negotiations done with the league, like that's something that we as fans need to put on our backs as well.
Yeah. They're human
for
beings.
sure.
They're not action figures that we watch for enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's something, that's a good message that everybody needs to hear. So, getting a bit more positive news, I guess we're going to start off just week 18 kind of recap. I know probably the biggest news was the whole situation in the NFC playoffs where they had the Rams and Seahawks game. If the Rams won, the Lions would have a chance to get in if they win, which is probably why they punted the Lions Packers game, because there was a chance basically if for either team winning in. Ooh. Thank you for the follow, appreciate it. So we were actually recording our Game of the Year podcast during that game, during the end of the game. So I literally we end the recording, I look at my phone, and I see a final in overtime, Seahawks win over the Rams. And I'm just like hitting my desk, like, dang it. Like, I would have loved a chance just to see a win and in for both teams, for the Lions and Packers. But man, what a great consolation prize to deny the Packers a spot in the playoffs.
I really, really hated that the NFL changed the schedule. I understand the appeal, have your big primetime game, be potentially a win and in for either team, but either way, Aaron Rodgers on a win and in. That's a huge story. Aaron Rodgers is a big superstar. That's the kind of story that the NFL wants for their primetime games. But one, I felt like it kind of hurt the competitive integrity. Luckily, it didn't, because Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions are absolute monsters. I love them so much.
All right, real quick. I have a bone to pick with ESPN, and not necessarily Scott Van Pelt, because I was watching SportsCenter the next morning. And because I actually fell asleep a bit way through the game, just because it was a bit later on a Sunday. And they're saying the next morning something about how the Detroit Lions shocked the world. It's like, no? Have you been paying attention to any of the NFL regular season? Like, we beat the Packers before. Like, it didn't shock the world.
The Packers had finally begun to start like putting things together. I honestly feel like the Detroit Lions are actually like a really good football team. They had some really bad struggles early on in the season. They had to get rid of some defensive coaches and stuff to sort of like right the ship in defense. That was their big problem. That offense is actually like crazy good.
Oh yeah.
I assumed like the Packers had just been on a tear through December and stuff. Their team has also come together really, really well. But Alec, I kind of want to get your opinions on this, because this is the take that I kind of put together over the last like 24 hours or so, which is it really felt to me like them moving the game back into primetime and the Detroit Lions knowing that they were already eliminated for playoffs sort of freed them in a way to where they were just going all out to beat the Packers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they left nothing on the, like, they weren't going to like play conservatively at all. Like, we saw that hook and ladder play that was just nuts.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that they call a play like that if the player hopes are still there. I think they do play a little bit more conservatively. I don't know if they actually end up winning that game if they're not there just to like show everything that they have.
I still think they would have done those kind of plays, because they've been doing those all season. Like, they've been going for it on fourth down quite a bit. They've done a few fake punts. So that's just in kind of Dan Campbell's, arsenal to do those kind of plays. So I still think they would have done those kind of things even if they were still in the playoff run or playoff contention.
Okay.
Yeah. My biggest issue with that, with the whole situation, was that like and this happens fairly often every season, is like the network inability to like pivot games to like have, like, they should have had those games on at the same time, the Seahawks Rams game and Lions Packers, like, afternoon. And I can't remember what the reason was, but like they just weren't allowed to do it for whatever reason. And because I do think there were some calls for the Packers that were like trying to maybe nudge them in the right direction.
That's
I
just
agree.
That's just
I
always
honestly,
the Packers way. That is always.
I do feel like the NFL massively favored the Packers. They wanted Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. They wanted San Francisco, Green Bay in the first round of the wild card.
Oh yeah,
that's not what they got.
No.
I really wish we live in a society right now where it is Jaguars and the Lions are both in the playoffs.
Right?
Like, it's really cool that the Jaguars are in because I love a underdog story.
Mhm.
But if the Lions also made it, what a postseason this would have been.
This is the first time all 3 Florida teams have been in the playoffs since like 1997 or something like that.
wow,
Oh
yeah.
wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I read that I think on like the NFL Reddit or something like
Well,
that.
this is the first time ever that the Seattle Mariners and the Seattle Seahawks
Yeah.
have both made it to the playoffs in the same season.
Here. Yeah.
Never happened before.
That's
Crazy.
awesome.
So, any other headlines from Week 18 you guys want to talk about?
Ooh, I got one.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, shout out to Lovie Smith going in for it.
I was gonna say this one too. Absolutely.
4-20. The Colts we needed to lose. Lovey took a bullet for us, man. He got fired right after the game, essentially, and but you got to read the room, Lovey. Like I don't know, you probably would have gotten fired anyways, but like
It was
Man.
the news broke before the game started that he was going to be fired after the game.
yeah, but yeah, either way, like just he stuck it to their ownership because they still have that one guy, Easterby, I think, right? Remember like a few years ago that all those reports came out that it was like a wacky situation over there. So
Yeah.
good for him, man.
That play actually hurt the Seahawks and as far as draft picks. It moved us down a draft pick by the Houston Texans winning and so like I don't even care just because I love that he went out there and was like, "Oh, you're gonna fire me? You guys don't get."
And then they went for 2,
Yeah.
dude. They were like just going like, yeah, it was
Like I love that kind of like
nuts.
to really just stick it to the people who are screwing you over. I love to see it. I don't care if it negatively affects my team.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight and shout out that we got to see the last of one of the most dominant defensive players in all of league history, in JJ
yeah.
Watt.
Yep.
Like what a presence, and I
Mhm.
loved watching him.
Mhm.
And the fact that he took the Texans and made them relevant, maybe not as a winning football team, but as a team to talk about.
Well, yeah.
You're
I mean,
excited to
you got to
watch.
remember they were up like 20 something points on the Chiefs, ready to go to the Super Bowl. Like they were
Yeah,
that close.
They were pretty close. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. JJ Watt is a monster, and
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we got to watch him play. And there was a really cool video of they got a bunch of players to like say, congratulations on a great career. And they had like Tom Brady do a video of like, man, I freaking hated you. I hated going against you because you hit so hard, but congrats and whatnot. And it was just I love that kind of camaraderie, and obviously shouting out a great player who deserves the praise. And it's definitely going in Ken whenever he's eligible,
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Being a Colts fan, like, getting to go up against him multiple times a season, like he was definitely a guy that like you only sports hated because he was obviously a great player, but then the way he carried himself off the field as well.
And all the good he did when Houston had the flooding and like from the hurricane. and whatnot,
all
like,
of his acts of service with all the different organizations he was partnered with, definitely. And now like that, once you left the division, I was like, okay, like, but yeah,
yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this because he might not be the only like defensive legend who ends his like this might be Aaron Donald's last season too. He hasn't announced his retirement, but it has been rumored around. Legitimately might have been the best defensive end of all time.
Yeah.
There are rumors that this is going to be his last season. He's not sure he's going to come back, depending on like what the rebuild situation looks like in Los Angeles. So
That's wild.
we might be losing a couple different defensive like legends.
Yeah.
Ooh, that would be a loss for the league.
And
Welcome
Aaron
to the
Rodgers.
stream. Oh.
Who knows?
Good boys.
Hey, what's going
I'm
on?
praying
I
Aaron
know,
Rodgers
right?
never plays again. I hate that guy.
Yeah, same.
I mean, we were talking about like the best memories in football. The Seahawks comeback against the Green Bay Packers to go to back-to-back Super Bowls.
Ooh,
Incredible.
I have rewatched that game more than I've rewatched any other game
Yeah.
in football history. just because I hate Aaron Rodgers so much. I just loved
same,
watching how
same.
frustrated he got.
Yeah.
It's incredible how far that hole goes, right? Just it's like he just becomes more unlikable by the day, and I don't understand how he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Giants Packers playoff game, like in the extreme cold, where Tom Coughlin turned into Frosty the Snowman. Like that game is incredible because we destroyed Aaron's hopes of making it to the Super Bowl. Like I love seeing him lose.
He got that one Super Bowl win very early on in his career, and then it's been nothing but falling short over and over and over again. And so, in a way,
and that's the Packers like front office's fault. They did not help him at all.
I don't see. I've always kind of been contentious because people bring that up all the time about like, oh, they always draft defensive players early on in the draft. They never draft them any weapons. One, they've never really had to draft in weapons. They've always been able to create weapons later in the draft, find undrafted players. Like they've turned quite a few guys into really, really good players without having to draft very early in the draft. Mm-hmm. Also, the only time Aaron Rodgers ever won a Super Bowl was when they had a really, really good defense.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
I just think he's not that good.
Man. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, we got him. Welcome to the stream, Chris, aka RumblePack92.
So happy he makes it here.
Thank you guys so much. You got me for like maybe 10 minutes before I start getting really loopy. For those unaware, I've been experiencing some very bad back pain for the last couple of days, and I finally went and got that checked out, and they gave me some very nice painkillers. So so I'm gonna be chilling here in a bit. But yeah, I was originally part of the lineup, and I was gonna be very sad if I didn't get the opportunity to come and talk ball with you boys at least for a few minutes. And
how about those Chiefs?
How about them Chiefs, man? Let me tell you, dude.
Seed.
Yeah,
number 1 seed, which it's I mean, obviously there's a lot more going into that with the whole Hamlin thing, but even outside of that though, they've had a really, really great season. Just in a time where in the preseason, you know, we see Tyreek Hill leave, like a huge part of the Chiefs offense. And I think they've done an incredible job of readapting and taking all these young kids in and diversifying their offense in a way that I was really nervous if they were going to be able to do. But we're seeing kids like Isaiah Pacheco and George Karlaftis and all these new kids like really, really, really step up. And I saw this post. I think it was on I forget whether it was Arkansas City or r/NFL today, but just kind of going over like some of the cap space for most of the other like NFL teams moving forward, and the way that they've restructured Mahomes' contract this preseason has really helped to where I think that we're really going to see the benefits of all the moves that happened this season, like a few years down the line. I think that sort of thing is really going to become apparent. And so as a Kansas City fan, who like my entire life, it is so great to see the Chiefs like just doing well consistently. They're still really annoying in the way that they kind of play to whoever they're playing that week, and they make games that shouldn't be close way too close.
No, you don't get to complain about that, my friend.
But you know
you
what?
do not get to complain about that. Okay, you're talking to a Seahawks fan here. Okay, you have no idea what playing down to your opponent looks like.
and so it's they're single-handedly doing their very best to absolutely just blow my heart up. But it's really great to have people like Mahomes and Kelsey and all these other kids in ways that I think the Chiefs have always been in this weird position to where they churn out a bunch of really good players, but it's like the rest of the organization doesn't kind of go anywhere. Like I was just talking to my dad about this the other day. I mean, legends like Marcus Allen and Derek Thomas and Priest Holmes and Jamal Charles and Tony Gonzalez, like a bunch of just like legendary players. But I mean, it's like nothing happened until Mahomes and Kelsey came and Hill all came along and got us a ring, Tyrann Mathieu and all them. And so it's been nice. It's been I'm chilling and enjoying like watching like one of the greatest quarterbacks that we'll ever see just kind of play, and it's a blessing to have him like be on the team that I like. I'm cherishing every second, man.
Mm-hmm.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it can go away like that, you know. Like it can go away
Literally.
so quickly.
Like we already talked about the Hamlin situation, but
yeah,
literally like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
like,
like
so
the
sad.
four of us have all experienced a great quarterback leaving and having to deal with the next
the
couple years
fallout.
not being great.
You know,
Yeah.
hey, wasn't too bad.
For you, sure.
Seattle was okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who would have thought Geno Smith, right?
Right?
Who would have
you're
Oh,
thought?
right.
yeah, for real though.
You're right. When Matt Hasselback left, it was a rough time after that.
Oh, gosh. Alrighty. Well, I guess we're going to get into our individual team recaps. So, as Chris, since we're going to be here, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. What sort of criteria are you looking for?
So, not necessarily a game by game recap, but just kind of just overall season, how you thought it went. Like, what were your thoughts at the beginning of the season, and like just kind of thoughts throughout?
That first season, who did we play? Was it Washington? I think that we opened the season on. Or it was. I don't remember who the Chiefs' first game was, but they came out and just made sure that everyone knew that we weren't washed without Tyreek Hill. And then we had a couple rough games after that. Because I mean, our division's real strong right now, and taking losses to both Buffalo and Cincinnati hurts. But all things considered, though, just with how new like so much of the team is, I think they did a really good job of finally like digging in their heels. It took till about the midseason, I think, for everyone to find their groove. But with this many like new people, it's kind of what you expect. And yeah, I think they've done really well. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to watch like the last like 3 or 4 weeks just because they haven't been playing in my area, which has been really disappointing. I gotta wait until like the YouTube highlights hit. But I'm happy overall with the way the Chiefs have played.
Really,
I mean,
you're content with the number 1 seed.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, I guess. It's a shame that there's not like a number 0 that we can go after, but whatever.
I would say genuinely, like I think like right now the Chiefs' offense is the best that it's been since like the Kareem Hunt year.
Yeah.
Honestly, losing
Kareem.
Tyreek Hill has actually made the offense better in a weird way.
I genuinely agree because I mean one it's such a cool reaction to like just getting absolutely shut down in the Super Bowl, right? To where because we lean so hard on Kelsey and Hill like pretty much exclusively. I know you had like Mecole Hardman and a couple other people in there, but like our game had been figured out, and teams knew what to do against that, and so being able to shake it up and yeah, I use the term diversify a lot. I think is the best way to put it. Just kind of like spread that out a bit has made it stronger, and so I think you see less of those huge like, do we have time to run wasp like hero plays, but because only Hill can get downhill that quickly.
Yeah.
But
dude is fast.
I think it's made us more consistent, which is really nice.
Yeah, and like I think like if there were those rumors last season of Juju Smith-Schuster possibly going over to the Chiefs, he ended up staying with the Packers for a year and then going over to the Chiefs. I think that if you guys had Juju Smith-Schuster last year, you guys probably would have won another Super Bowl because he's been like having that like short distance route runner, a possession receiver for Mahomes to actually be able to dump the ball down to. That's been a huge help. Isaiah Pacheco coming in and like the Chiefs have a run game again. Like they're running the ball again efficiently.
Dude, he's explosive too, man. The way he just kind of trucks through people has been really fun. But yeah, I mean it's wild to see the Chiefs run again.
Yeah,
after becoming a pass team for so long.
You expected like Clyde Edwards-Helaire to be able to step in, be the pass catching running back that they needed to like move that running game forward and things like that, and then they just didn't. And Isaiah Pacheco is apparently the answer.
I guess, man. Who would have thought? But he turned. I'm not complaining. There really was just kind of that one. Was it like game 2, game 3 this year, where had not a reception, but he had a run to where I think he just went straight through the hole, like broke through 2 defenders, and I just remember even the commentators being like, damn, he's fast. Like, oh, where did that come from? And yeah, it felt like he just kind of came out of nowhere, and then Andy was like, hey, let's do that more often. Like that. Why don't we run more?
In between drawing mustaches on people.
I'll figure it out. I'll get right to the bottom of this.
Yeah. All right, Brett, how about the Colts season? Your thoughts on that?
Oh boy. Yeah, just like Chris, I haven't been able to watch a lot of games, due to a variety of reasons. But yeah, like coming into the season, I really thought they had a chance to be kind of like a borderline playoff team. I mean, if you talk yourself into it, you're like, hey, last year they were 9-8. They won a couple close games, but man, they really dropped a couple that were super winnable. If you fix those mistakes, you might be a 10-win team, maybe 11 if you're lucky, all that jazz. But boy, man, Matt Ryan, I think, died like 2 years ago. I should have seen it coming with how he was in his last Atlanta year, because I remember watching a few games, like just because they were on, and it was I was not inspired. But you figured with Reich being a pretty good play caller, with Ballard drafting fairly well, not for a receiver, but a lot of other positions. Yeah, I thought they were going to be pretty dang good. And, man, week one, it was like just smack in the face, tying the Texans, who we already knew they were going to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I was like, what is going on? And yeah, week in, week out, I hope Wright gets another opportunity. I think he certainly deserves one. But being a fan of the team and being plugged in and watching the games, you could tell, he lost, the sauce a little bit. They just weren't playing inspired football at all. And obviously there's a lot of issues with the team's roster construction. I think Ballard definitely deserves a lot of criticism because a lot of those problems reared their head this year. But yeah, I was okay with the firing. I don't know about mid-season, but definitely okay with the firing. And then they hired Jeff Saturday.
Jeff Saturday.
Yeah.
Jeff Saturday.
What a dope name.
That was absolutely insane because I actually know Jeff Saturday. And so
Oh really?
Like personally?
Yeah, I have I could text him right now.
Here we go, Nepo baby Jim Tasty.
No.
Are all of his followers purchased?
And
I'll just send some my way.
With his hiring at the time, I was like, hey, this season's, even though we were 3-5 and 1 or something like that, I was like, this season's lost. I don't feel inspired by this team at all. Who cares? There was a lot of Ted Lasso memes in the Colts community. I was like, yeah, why not? Even though Ted Lasso loses a lot in the show if you watched it. It was so hey, maybe something crazy can happen, right? And my last good memory of the season was the win against the Raiders, just because of the whole Josh McDaniels Colts thing.
FTR.
And
legally required.
And then after that, it was just death. I was like, yeah, this is not fun. I stopped watching a lot of the games just because I was like, there's no point.
Oh no.
I used to be a diehard fan where I was watching the team no matter what. Now that I'm a little older, I'm like, bro, if you suck, I'm not wasting my time on you guys. Good luck, So, but as I brought up earlier, Lovey helped us out with the little bump up in the pick. Maybe we trade up. Who knows? We definitely need a quarterback. I'm excited to draft a young quarterback for the first time in 12 years, right? So 11 years. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited for the rebuild and kind of like what Chris was talking about with a generational quarterback. I had the misfortune of having that when I was young, and now all I know is pain. So I got to taste it.
We got the opposite stories.
Yeah, I got to taste it as a kid, and then it got ripped away from me. So, but yeah, tough season. But turnarounds in NFLs are fast.
Yeah.
teams can go from zero to hero real quickly. So who knows?
Yeah, and I mean the way that the teams are really building around quarterbacks and stuff too. I think like getting somebody young next season is could potentially just be a huge shot in the arm, right? Because you're saying I think the thing that stuck out to me most is like that passion is gone. You get like some young gun that's firing bullets left and right. That might just re-energize the team and rebuild in a really cool way.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully,
even-
Jonathan Taylor's back to what we know
Yeah.
him to be.
Yeah,
That's a big yeah. Really screwed over some fantasy owners this year with that.
the lifespan for running backs is so short, man.
Yeah.
He's already a couple years in, and it's not long. So
Mhm.
who knows? If
It feels like a David Johnson sort of situation where he had just like 1 or 2 years where he was just like the best running back in the league, and then he just dropped off a cliff.
Oh yeah, it totally could be that. And in terms of where our rebuild goes, like if it doesn't line up with his career, like it might not be meaningful football from him in a Colts uniform ever again.
Alrighty. Kyle, how about your Giants?
It's been a long few years. So I was expecting more of this, not more of the same, because obviously, the draft, I think, went super well for the Giants. The Brian Daboll hiring, I was super jazzed about. The Wink Martindale defensive coordinator, I'm super excited about. It was just, the big question is Daniel Jones going to be a competent quarterback? And egg on my face, he's pretty damn great. It goes to show you what a competent coaching system and a scheme will do for a quarterback. And he's not like super flashy like with the throws. I mean, it also doesn't help that our receiving core is like a lot of injuries. Like, oh my god, I had such high hopes, and I don't know what happened. He did well when all the backups played this past week, but it's just so bizarre. But the most exciting receiver on the Giants now is Isaiah Hodgins, who is a Bills practice squad player, and he's doing fantastic for us. He's like our new quasi number one behind Slayton. But I loved how this season started. The surprise win against the Titans in week 1, beating the Ravens, beating the Packers in London. Obviously getting blown out in games that I thought should have been a win by your Lions, Alec.
That one was a surprise.
That was one of those
huge.
weeks where I'm like, this is what it's like to have a stress-free game? Like, what?
Yeah, I know. It's wild. And it's just great to have Saquon back to what he was the first couple of seasons. A healthy Saquon is just not only good for the Giants, but good for football because he's super exciting.
He's fun to watch, man.
He's awesome. And like when I think of the Giants teams that I love when they beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl, I think of the defense and the fact that we have our new Yossi Umenyiora, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan, and Kayvon. Like Kayvon is a beast, and he is that disruptor along with sexy Dexy up the middle. It's very, very exciting. I love the future that the Giants are going in. I expect Daniel Jones to stick around for a couple more years. I think he deserves that contract. And I secretly hope they might get past the Vikings this upcoming weekend in the playoffs because
very winnable, very winnable.
This is a very reminiscent. Yeah, this is a reminiscent team from the last time they made the playoffs, and they barely squeaked by. So, like, I've got high hopes. It's been a good, fun year for sure.
All right, Jose.
What a season, man. Oh my god. Who saw this coming? I don't even know what, because this offseason was so bad for us. It felt that obviously Russell forced his way out of the organization, went over to the Broncos.
Let's ride.
Unfortunately cut Bobby Wagner. Literally the 2 Seahawks jerseys I own are Russell Wilson and Bobby Wagner.
Oh no.
Two of my favorite players.
I feel that pain.
No longer on the team in the same offseason. It was painful. Genuinely felt like the team was directionless, felt like things were going wrong. The draft came. I didn't particularly love our draft. We went with a first round running back, which considering we were going into a rebuild year. I didn't think that like drafting a running back was a super smart idea. Didn't think the timeline would line up by the time like running backs usually take a year or two to get going, and we might not be even ready to compete by the time his career's over. So just going into the season with the lowest of lowest expectations. Everybody told us we were going to be the worst team in the NFL. ESPN, Fox Sports, everybody's giving us like 2 wins. I had some conversations with Brett before the season started. I think I put us at like top 6 wins. That's kind of where I thought we were going to end up. Mm-hmm. Just like, because I genuinely thought like people thought we were going to tank. I knew Pete Carroll wasn't going to tank. That's just not his style. That's not how he runs things. I thought we were going to compete and just lose a lot, which is fine. We get to evaluate our players. We get to try. I hate developing a losing culture. I think tanking is terrible, especially in the NFL. And so just generally going in with the lowest of expectations. If we got to 6 wins, I would be happy. And then they announced Geno Smith as the starter. I was upset.
Which is a logical conclusion.
Oh yeah.
and like not even anything. Geno came in when Russell was hurt last year, and I thought he played fine. I thought he was just totally fine. But I figured this is a rebuilding year. We have Drew Lock. We've got him on a very short contract. Let's see what the kid's got. Maybe in our system, he's a little bit better than he was in Denver. We know what Geno Smith is. Everybody knows what Geno Smith is. He can't take us very far. So let's just figure out what we got in Drew Lock. Turns out, Geno Smith's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Nobody saw that coming.
When we started the season, I literally said there's only one game in this entire season that I want to win. We can win one game and we can lose literally 17 other games. I do not care as long as we beat the Denver Broncos. We started the season off. We just barely beat the Denver Broncos on a missed kick. I literally fell to the floor in my living room. I was just overcome with emotions because that guy forced his way out of our organization, told us that we couldn't be a winning franchise, told us that he couldn't do anything here. And we go out there and we beat him. And I felt so good. And I was done. Didn't care what else happened in the season. We went to the San Francisco 49ers the next week. Got our asses absolutely handed to us. And I was like, this is what the season's going to be. And I'm totally fine with it. And then we just started winning games. And it was mind-blowing because we have so many rookies. We have so much young guys on this team. And
what did y'all end up, like 9-8?
Yeah, 9-8. We finished above 500. We made it into the playoffs. We made it in the playoffs, and thank you very much.
and we have Packers. That's so great.
and we have the 5th overall pick in this next draft.
That's crazy
because the Denver Broncos suck.
That's huge.
It's just I haven't enjoyed a season this much in a really, really long time because it just kept moving forward. And I mean, somehow the Seahawks managed to completely blow up my expectations and still disappoint me because there was like a 6-game stretch where we were going to go face all these bad teams. We got swept by the worst division in football. Like we lost to the Bucks, we lost to the Saints, we lost to the Falcons. Like how? It's crazy that we lost those games. Like whether or not we were in the playoffs shouldn't have even been a question because we should have won those games. But yeah, we're gonna go into the playoffs. We're gonna get our asses once again for the 3rd time this year handed to us by the 49ers. I'm gonna be there in the stadium, and I'm gonna love every second of watching my team lose because how did this season happen?
Yeah, that's awesome that you actually get to go to that game. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be my first playoff game I've ever been to. I've been to quite a few. Pretty much always I go to Seattle and the 49ers because, I live in California, so it's like a 3-hour drive down to Levi Stadium. Terrible stadium. But this is going to be my first time watching a playoff game there and against,
that's going to be electric.
The division rivals. Yeah, I'm so excited, man. And
being in Ohio makes 30. Being in Ohio makes getting to Chiefs games hard, especially now that like the Bengals are good. Like tickets are so much more expensive.
So I mean, You talked about Russ a little bit. Like, you still have a little love for him, right?
I feel better about Russ now.
Okay.
At the time, when the season started, genuinely, because people don't understand. Like when that first game happened and Russell was being booed in Seattle, people didn't understand, right? Like they were like, "How could you do this? He's like the best quarterback your franchise has ever had. How can you boo him going home?" People don't realize that this was a multi-year progress of him like
Yeah.
screwing over our organization, going into every free agency, demanding a bigger contract, talking about how, trying to force Pete Carroll out, talking about how this team couldn't win. He really began coming off as like an extremely selfish player, obsessed with winning an MVP, no matter what it cost the team. And so, yeah, I really like when this season started, I was furious with Russell Wilson in a way that like years ago, I really never thought that I could be. I really felt betrayed as a fan by this guy. And like, I'm normally not the guy who's like, the players owe us as fans really anything. Like they got to get your money for sure. Do your thing. But the way that he just like derailed the entire organization for like really selfish needs, screwed us over multiple times. I wanted to see the guy fail, and he did. And I do like I think this has been a humbling moment for him. I think that he's learned a lot this season. I think he's going to be a different player going forward, and I want to like the guy again. But like genuinely, like, he doesn't at times feel like a real person. He feels like we used to call him Russbot in the Seahawks forums and stuff or Robo Russ, because that's he feels like an android at times. But like I really do hope that this is like a turnaround for him, and I hope he can start rebuilding himself, rebuilding him within that organization over at the Broncos, because otherwise this is just going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
How about you, Alec? How about your Lions?
Ooh, this is a good season. Didn't start off the best. I mean, we had a couple heartbreakers, like the one against the Eagles, first game of the season. What was it, 45-42 loss there? So like almost 90 points scored in the opening game combined.
Before you get too far into it,
Yeah.
Alec, I'm gonna get going because my back is killing me. But I'm,
Okay.
I'm glad I got to come in and see you guys for a minute.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, Lions look fucking great this year, dude. I'm really excited to see what next year looks like for them.
So good.
Yeah.
All right.
It's really, really exciting.
Rest up.
Yeah.
Feel better.
Appreciate you
Later, boys.
stopping by.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Alrighty. But yeah, it started off kind of, I mean, as normal Lions season would, I guess. As what I'm used to. I guess kind of going back a bit, going to the draft. Aiden Hutchinson, come on. Like, how could
yeah.
you not be upset with that pick? But then one of the picks I was a little upset with was Jameson Williams. Because it's like you're drafting a receiver that has a torn ACL. Like, what? What? So I was a little upset with that, but overall I thought that we drafted okay. Got some good players. But yeah, we beat Washington, so we got a win early, so I was happy there. But I was going into the season with, I'd say, a little high expectations, just because I know we were kind of trending in the right direction last season, in our first year of a rebuild with a new coach. Campbell, it's like also being in Hard Knocks, getting to see kind of the behind the scenes there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how awesome was it to see your team on Hard Knocks?
Oh, I loved it.
It might have been one of my favorite seasons of Hard Knocks because
This is the first time I've watched it.
That's a fun team.
Oh yeah. And that was what actually I met one of, not my favorite, because I've at the beginning of the podcast or the stream we were talking about Jamal Williams. He's my favorite Lions player.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
But with Hard Knocks, I got to meet this rookie linebacker, Malcolm Rodriguez. Mm-hmm. Dude came out of nowhere and just like stunned this defensive staff of how good this guy's playing. And they ended up calling him Rodrigo for just a nickname. And so it's like every time I see him play during the season, it's like Rodrigo. But it's just really cool, Hard Knocks, just being able to see, like, especially if it's your team, just kind of that behind the scenes look that you don't really get to see that often unless you actually go to training camp. But the first half of the season was rough. We started off 1-6. We played the Patriots and got completely shut out by them. Even though I'm just praying that last drive, I'm like, you are in field goal range. Why are you going for it on 4th down? Get the field goal, don't get shut out. They go for it on 4th and don't convert. It's like, come on. I was a little bit mad, but going into the bye week, it was a rough bye week, rough couple weeks to wait for the next Lions game. But I think that next one, I believe it was the Giants game, and
sounds about right.
And yeah, like I said when Kyle was going over his season, like that was like, this is what it's like to watch a stress-free game. That's awesome. Like they used that bye week right. And we ended up winning. I think we only lost like 2 games the rest of the season. So we lost to the Bills on Thanksgiving Day by 3 points.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get blown out that day. I'm going to be completely honest. Like the Bills were playing some of the best football at that time. And to see us just kind of, doing what we do, the Lions, and the saying of the season is grit. Play every game, we're going to bite some kneecaps. And seeing that we were in that game was just awesome, let alone almost winning it. I guess getting to more of the end of the season, that Panthers game was rough. We could not stop their run whatsoever. But I think the biggest part of the season was just that all of our offense was healthy. Like that's been our biggest hurdle as long as I can remember. It's just none of our offense wasn't healthy all at the same time. So, and eventually we even got Jameson Williams back, and he's been very limited, but man, that dude can fly. Like his first catch was a touchdown completely wide open. I think it was against the Vikings. And man, that was just one of those, like, even the cameraman was kind of stunned just to see him completely by himself there. And, but yeah, that Lions Packers game was great too. I didn't get to watch the entire thing, so I caught up on the highlights the next day. And, I remember that night I was watching the game, watched the first half, fell asleep at halftime, just thinking, oh, I'll take a little nap, be up by 3rd quarter. And next thing I knew, it was almost the end of the 3rd quarter. It was like 3 or 4 minutes left. And I wake up and see Rodgers throw that bomb to their rookie receiver. And he was doing that, like the flex and yelling. And it's like, oh, come on. Next play, they score a touchdown. It's like, okay, I'm going back to sleep. Because, I'm not a superstitious person unless it's football. So I'm like, okay, Lions were doing great. They were ahead while I was sleeping. I'm going to go back to sleep. Woke up. At the end of the game, like I had the TV on and it was on some random commercial. And I look up, it's like, okay, cool, we won. Awesome. Go to bed. And so I actually predicted at the beginning of the season, because I forgot there was 17 games. I thought we were going to go 500. So nothing like, a bit above what we did last year, but nothing like too crazy. But then, a friend reminded, oh, hey, nope, we had 17 games. Like, okay, well, I got, what kind of fan would I be if I projected we'd have a losing season? So I predicted a 9-8 season, and they did it. So,
nail on the head.
You brought up the Vikings. How do you feel about that Hockenson trade? Are you now far away from it to like be happy with what you got, or are you bummed that he's not on your team anymore?
I'm bummed a bit, but honestly, with Brock Wright, he was more of our blocking tight end at the time when we had Hockenson, but he's grown into a great receiving tight end. Like there was a game where he had a couple touchdowns, and even our backup tight end, he had a hat trick during the Carolina Panthers game. So I think it's more towards Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson as their system. Like they can pretty much put whatever player in there, and they're still going to thrive.
Sure. That was a shock, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember seeing the headline, Hockenson getting traded to the Vikings. Like, oh, man.
Like
the Vikings need more weapons. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. And I had it on my fantasy team, because I always like to try and draft a Lions player. And I'm like, well, there goes my one Lions player. So that's real quick. We just kind of go over some surprises and disappointments of the season. I'd say kind of the biggest disappointment or surprise, I guess, kind of both, was the NFC South kind of just being the worst division in football.
I love how that
Yeah.
hops around every other year. The worst division.
I think our division was the worst.
I believe by record, it's the NFC South who finished it off with
No, because they had 3, 7, and 10 teams, and an 8 and 9
did
team.
they?
Yeah, like
It just feels like
were
they're
like
bad.
the Texans were like 2, 14 and 1.
Wow.
Colts were like 4,
Huh.
12 and 1. And then the Titans were like 7 and 8 and 9, 7 and 10, something like that.
Yeah, AFC South was Jaguars 9-8, Titans 7-10,
Yeah.
Colts 4-12,
Wow.
Texans
Oh,
3-13.
Well, so that's the thing is that like because what is the NFC South? They're getting in with a
8 and 9 record for the Bucs.
yeah, they have a losing team going to the playoffs, whereas the AFC South is at least sending a 9-8 Jaguars team.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that losing team making the playoffs used to be my NFC East for a very long time.
Yeah, that was kind of the projection of the season, was that everybody was calling the NFC East out as
Yeah.
going to be the worst division in the league this year, but they really surprised
we have
everybody.
we have 3 playoff teams. Like it's
Almost
wild.
4.
Yeah.
Almost 4. I can't wait till that happens in one of the divisions. It's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's been getting close. Like the NFC West got really close last
Oh,
year to
yeah.
putting 4 playoff teams.
Mm.
But yeah, like the Bucks finishing under 500 was really surprising. Obviously they've been racked with injuries all season. They've lost a lot of really good players, offensive linemen. They lost Shaq Barrett, who's super important to that defense. And then like Chris Godwin just not being 100% throughout the entire season, that was tough. But like the Panthers not being able to put anything together, having to trade away Christian McCaffrey.
That was a big
The
shock.
Falcons, yeah, that was crazy. The Falcons, I didn't really expect much out of them or the Saints, to be
Mhm.
honest. But like, yeah, the Bucks and the Panthers, I both thought would be doing a lot better than they ended up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think with the Bucks, like I think the coaching staff really took a hit once what's his face?
Bruce Arians.
Arians, yeah, once he left, like it's only been his first year, right, with Bulls, but I mean, you look at the Jets and they were pretty uninspiring for a majority of his tenure. Leftwich, I don't think is a great play caller. Obviously, Tom Brady didn't play great, but he still played decent. And I know it's not the end all be all, but like I don't know if it's quarterback rating or QBR or whatever, but like that, like his rating or whatever this season was like around some of his lower Pats years. So like, but again, you look at some of those Pats teams, it was like 2019 stuff like that. Like those teams still were like 10-6 and made the playoffs and stuff like that. So they won a couple close games, but they lost a couple close ones too. And so yeah, but it's gonna be interesting to see them go up against the Cowboys, just because the Cowboys have never beaten Brady. And then Brady obviously is the greatest of all time. So
Well, you say like, oh, this was a down year for Brady, not his best year, whatever. He set the new NFL completions record this season.
He had like 27 TDs and like 9 picks or something like that.
Yeah, and like, I believe he led the league in passing yards as well.
Yeah, like he's
Wild.
45, dude. He's 45 years old. Matt Ryan's 37 and like is like not even in the same stratosphere as Brady this year. Like crazy, dude, crazy.
Mhm.
And he's gonna play again next year, which is insane. Where? I don't know.
San Francisco.
It's wild to see like reports of like the Raiders want to sign Brady. I'm like, dude, he's 45, almost 46. Like that's wild. That like that's still like a thing.
Yeah, I know you mentioning Brady getting the completions record reminded me. Jamal Williams, just this past Sunday, he broke Barry Sanders' team rushing touchdowns record, or the
Yeah.
franchise rushing touchdowns record with, what was it, 18, 17, 18, something like that?
Yeah, that one. So like there's been a lot because this is like the second season that we've had the extended season. We're on the 17 game season now. And so, a lot of single season franchise records keep it. Geno Smith just set like 4 single season records as quarterback
jeez.
for the Seattle Seahawks. Like he has like the most completions, most yards, QBR. Like he just set like a bunch of records. And like the only one that like genuinely I feel like we probably maybe shouldn't honor that one is the Barry Sanders record, where it's like,
Yeah.
like everybody else, like, yeah, whatever. The season's changed. It's like baseball, like they play more games now than they did back in like Babe Ruth's day or whatever. You just had to deal with it. That's just the way sports progress. But like, I don't know if you should be taking away Barry Sanders' record when you get one extra game. Do it in 16, then we'll count it.
Yeah, so like, because it was like Justin Jefferson beat out some. Who was it? Calvin Johnson? Did he beat out some receiving record or possession catch record this year? And that discussion brought up, and like, I'm with you where it's like it's like, oh, he had an extra game, like of course, but like, not that I agree with it, but it's just a reality, like. Back when they added when they went to 16 games in like the 80s or whatever, whenever they did that 70s, you remember, that was the same thing that happened where records were being broken. I think like OJ Simpson still would have like whatever record because he did it in like 14, like some rushing touchdown record or whatever, 14 games, something like that. Like it's just the nature of the sport, just because the NFL wants newer players to break records so that people get engaged with that. And they're not like, oh, this guy did it 40 years ago. Like, I don't remember who that guy was. Like, they see all these records happening. It's better for the league. And then over time, nobody's going to be like, Barry Sanders, like, who's that? Like, it's going to be the reality, unfortunately. So, but
that makes me sad.
Yeah.
How are you not going to know who Barry Sanders is?
Just in terms of like,
no, I know, but
look at the stat sheet, but they won't like.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like the eye test kind of stuff. Like they won't see him like be doing it on the field.
It's like what I used to substitute teach and talk about how like you couldn't use the phone in the house and not be on the internet at the same time when I had a computer at home. Like, what are you talking about? Just search it up on your phone. No, we didn't have that
those
technology.
2 things have to do with each other?
Exactly. But I do want to highlight something that I didn't realize happened this season. I'm looking at the standings, and I realized that they both teams had the opposite of what was going on with the Niners and the Bears. The fact that the Niners have ended the season on a 10-game winning streak, and the Bears ending on a 10-game losing streak.
Oh, jeez.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That is absolutely wild. And like Justin Fields showing promise. If he gets a couple other weapons, the Bears are going to be pretty damn good.
Oh, yeah.
And just the Niners overcoming the QB carousel this year. Obviously, getting McCaffrey helps. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, like actually showing that he's awesome.
I'm not a believer in Trey Lance, and it's obviously like injuries are not like, it's just, I don't think they would have been as successful this year and last year if Lance was the starting quarterback the full season, like both seasons. I really don't. Like Jimmy G's not like an elite quarterback, but he's a good quarterback, and it's gonna be interesting to see like what did Brock do if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl. Like he would win, he would have won it without losing a game, right? Because like he hasn't lost yet. So like it's just credit to their coaching staff and their organization just to build such a strong foundation around.
Yeah.
It's a very good system for quarterbacks to be able to operate in. They get a lot of time to make their reads. Their reads are like planned out for them and stuff. Like it's a very quarterback friendly system, which actually sort of speaks to like maybe Trey Lance won't end up being good because people are like stunned by Brock Purdy right now. People forget that like we've Blaine Gabbert and Nick Mullins, like quarterback after quarterback has like, because Jimmy G just has been hurt like almost every single year. Quarterbacks keep showing up in that system, playing really good, and then getting a decent contract somewhere else, and they're terrible over there.
Mhm.
So like this, it's always the new hotness with the 49ers backup quarterbacks.
Mhm.
It's crazy how it keeps happening. But the fact that like Trey Lance, when he's appeared in the 49ers offense, hasn't looked very good when almost every other quarterback who has been in there really has. That's pretty weird.
It's still that gray area though, where like we haven't seen a large enough sample size to really get
Yeah.
a good read on him. So it's that what if question.
He
Still.
also
Like,
barely played in college at all. Like he played like he only played like 5 games in college.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah, but I think Jimmy G gets too much hate. Like he literally like one throw away from winning a Super Bowl, and the discussion around him completely changes. Like, yeah, because like we were
But
talking about
he
Rodgers.
didn't make the throw. You got to make that throw.
I
You got your
know.
guy wide open. Like 30 out of 32 quarterbacks in the league make that throw, and he didn't make it.
Yeah. It's just interesting because we were talking about Rodgers. Like, obviously, he has such a stacked resume on every metric across the board. But if you took away that championship, like again, the framing of the discussion around it would be completely different. You know.
Alrighty. Well, speaking of championships, let's predict some playoffs games, shall we?
Let's go, dude.
Alrighty, so open up that link in the doc. It'll give you the picture I'm showing on stream right now of the playoff bracket. Where do you guys want to start? AFC or NFC?
We got two, or let's do NFC because we have 3 NFC, representatives here.
Oh,
Alrighty. Alright, so first one up, Cowboys and Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
You really think so?
Tom Brady's win a playoff game. Tom Brady at home against a team that's never beaten Tom Brady. Tom Brady, like recently, the Bucs have been playing actually pretty damn good, and it's Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Yeah,
he's winning the game.
It's hard to beat that.
I'll be happy they'll beat the Cowboys. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think
I hate the Cowboys.
everybody will be. Yeah, I think everybody will be fine with the Cowboys lost.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Like honestly, looking at just this bracket completely, other than me being a Giants fan and the NFC East rivals, I hate them completely. I don't hate the teams that are in this year's playoffs. Like,
right? Yeah,
it's a very likable group of teams that are in here, minus Tom Brady. But
yeah.
The thing with Tom Brady is like I hated him on the Pats like so freaking much just because of the battle with the Colts over the decade, like that decade. But when he went to the Buccaneers and like it was really the meme game. All these memes about like the Tampa Bay Gronkaneers and stuff like just made me laugh so much that I didn't hate him anymore. And like just basically dismantling the Pats dynasty once he left, I was like, okay, like a little bit different. And then him sticking it to the Pats when winning that first year, like I was like, okay, like I don't hate you as much. I still hate you, but
yeah.
Right. Yep. Alrighty. So next game, gonna be an interesting one. Giants and Vikings. So Vikings, it's kind of been an interesting season for them. Like they've won on a lot of last second field goals, Lions being one of them. And they've lost to some teams that they probably should have beaten. Like, even though the Lions were favoring that second go around, they way better team, stats wise, so it's like.
And they did beat the Giants pretty handily in the regular season. Like, I don't think it was a close game from my memory.
Were the Vikings 13-4? Is that right?
That sounds correct.
Sounds right, yeah.
And like out of their 13 wins, like 11 of them were like one score.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that kicker. So as long as you're not in a close scoring game, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Which hey, guess what? Who also was a great low scoring game team? The Giants. Like their games have been pretty close as well.
Well, yeah, close scoring games for sure. But then also, Brett, I think you might remember, like if you have an extremely large lead against the Vikings,
I was going to bring this up. Let me own this, okay? The Vikings have the largest NFL comeback in the history of the NFL against my team. Yeah. Oh man.
I think it's going to be a tense game. I'm really worried about the Giants defensively keeping all of their weapons in check.
Yeah.
Like if you double on Justin Jefferson, there goes T.J. Hawkinson or Dalvin
Thielen.
Cook, Thielen. Exactly.
And there's almost no point in doubling Justin
No.
Jefferson because
He's
he catches everything.
exactly.
Mhm.
So I'm really worried how they're going to handle it defensively. The Giants is just like the receivers have to step up for them. That really is what they need to do to keep a balanced offensive attack. Because if you rely too much on Saquon, they're going to take away the run, and then we're screwed.
Yeah.
Unless they actually get Danny Dimes moving around and for rushes, which he's great at. I think it's going to be a very close game. I can see the Giants actually losing this because again, Vikings are good in close scoring games. But I mean, I'm biased. I hope my Giants win.
Yeah, Vikings are going to be stacking the box. I'm not totally sure what the game plan looks like for New York, whether they're going to move to a lot of play action stuff, which Danny Dimes tends to be pretty good at. But yeah, they're going to be sending 5 probably the entire game, and if those receivers can't do anything, it's going to be very tough for them. I genuinely treat this game like a coin flip. I don't know what's going to happen.
I was thinking the same thing.
I think it's going to be very important for the Giants tight end Bellinger to have a big game. Because if the receivers are getting covered up, Bellinger needs to get open in the middle of the field. And I mean, he's the reason we beat the Packers in London. Like, he's a very great young tight end. I think he is the key to a win during this game for sure.
Yeah.
Or even just like the Giants have been like blitzing a lot this year and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just like a Wink Martindale. That's how
yeah.
he rolls.
Mhm.
And Kirk Cousins is not super good under pressure.
No, he's
So
not.
like if the defense really gets rolling, we might end up with just like a super low scoring game.
Yeah.
Like this game could literally go. It could be a high scoring game. It could be a low scoring
Right.
game. It could be. It could be a blowout. It could not be. Anything can happen in this game. Like I genuinely have no idea.
Now what time slot is this game in, or what day?
I think it's a Sunday game, right?
I should know.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, but
Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, Sunday 4:30 Eastern.
okay, cool. Let's keep that.
Yeah, because like the Jaguars get a primetime playoff game for the first time.
That's cool.
Yeah, because they've always played afternoon, just because of the East Coast. But
Yep.
yeah, the Vikings are such an enigma. Like I could see them just getting embarrassed by the Giants, or I could see them going all the way. Like they're the team that I just have the hardest time like pegging where they stand in the field here. Like it's just
They're a different team every week.
Yeah, they've won a lot of one-score games. They had the massive comeback against the Colts. They've had some embarrassing losses. It's like it's just I don't know, man. I don't know. But if I had to put money on it, I think the Vikings win just because I do think they are the better, more talented team. But again, there's that variance. Like we could see them just Kirk is historically not very clutch, just in terms of a lot of primetime / playoff games. But it'll be interesting to see, man. That's what makes watching football so exciting every week.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Then we got the Seahawks and 49ers.
49ers by 30.
Yeah.
What's the score? Give us a score.
Will it be as bad as the national championship game last night?
Oh
No,
boy.
no, it won't be that bad. No, it won't. 21 to.
Well, you said by 30, 51-21?
No, it's not actually going to be that. But
I'm gonna say 31-10.
that's not terrible. That's not a terrible guess. I could go maybe Seahawks 14 to 30. Maybe 37.
Okay. So since we're on the record here, what will you do if the Seahawks win?
So I'm gonna have to contain myself, right? Because I'm gonna be in the stadium. I can't make too big of a deal of it, right? I don't want to get stabbed.
Get a Jose Ruckus flag and streak the field.
But I will be doing. I mean, I don't know if you saw the World Cup meme that was going around when the U.S. tied England. But I will be hopping online to do the 49ers. What happened, bro? It would be the most insane thing that ever happened. Now, it is extremely hard to beat a team 3 times in the same season. That rarely ever happens. The 49ers are on a 10-game win streak. Brock Purdy, a rookie, never had the pressure of like really a big time game before. There's a lot of factors in this. And like I also genuinely don't think like Brock Purdy is that. Like I think he's going to get dismantled in these playoffs. I genuinely believe that's going to happen. So I just don't think the Seahawks are going to be the ones who do it. But like, yeah, there's a lot just like numbers wise that can sort of shift this game, right? Like people winning a game, 3 games against the same team. Like you saw it against the Rams last year, right? 49ers beat the Rams twice in the regular season, lost to them in the playoffs. That's usually what happens in these cases. But it's not going to happen here. 49ers, they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, 49ers are rolling.
Yeah.
I think they're the best team in the playoffs. I think they're the best team. Yeah, so.
Alrighty. So you're sticking with the NFC. Let's just keep going. So we got what? Cowboys and Buccaneers and Eagles.
Well, don't they reseed now in the second round?
Yeah, here actually. I've got a little tool to help us out.
Okay.
I'll keep track of this for you. Because they are reseeding now, which makes it a little bit.
Oh, I just assumed that they had a bracket style. They had a nice little graphic for us. I'm like, okay, bracket style. Nope. Okay. NFL, you're making things too complicated.
I think the Eagles played the worst record remaining.
That would make sense. So
here, Alex, I'll link you this tool here in the stream chat. We'll have to start moving things around, so we'll be doing all first round picks right here. But this will handle reseeding for you, and then it'll make a bracket for us at the end.
Okay,
So we picked the Buccaneers. We picked the Vikings, right, as a consensus.
Oh, we're doing. Okay, I guess the website's.
It'll start. It'll have us do all the first rounds first.
Okay, so let's just do AFC then.
AFC. Yep.
Okay.
So we got Bills and Dolphins.
I think
legitimately this time Bills by 30.
Yeah. I think the Bills slaughter because Tua's not going to play, right?
No, he probably won't.
Yeah, and I mean, in football, not what you want in real life. I'd love to fail to success, but the Dolphins dropped like 5 straight almost to end the season. Like they just were stumbling into the playoffs. Like I think the magic they had at the beginning of the season with Tua and just with the new coach and Tyreek and everything, I think that's gone. The Bills, they've been hungry the last couple of years. They're so well coached, and Josh Allen's a beast. They have the DeMar thing to motivate them a little bit. I think they're gonna come out angry and slaughter the Dolphins.
Yeah,
agreed. You got the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna be in Buffalo.
Yeah, exactly. No shot.
The Dolphins can't do the mirror trick with their stadium and shine the sun into the players.
Oh yeah.
That's I love that. I love that. Like the way bench is like right in the sun.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. Then we got Bengals and Ravens.
Ooh, this is gonna be crazy because if Lamar does not play, it's Bengals again by 30. Man, but if Lamar comes back, with that kind of player, they could go the distance if they just catch fire. but I'm still gonna just straight up. I'm still gonna pick the Bengals, but I think it's gonna be close.
Same. I think the Bengals' young roster is incredible. And without Lamar, I don't know how much of a chance the Ravens have.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and that team have this sort of mentality that when they're in big games, they just win. Like the way that they ran the playoffs last season and stuff, like they just had this amount of confidence in themselves that, like, yeah, I just see them getting it done. And like Lamar Jackson kind of hasn't been super proven in the playoffs and stuff. Teams are able to scheme against him extremely well. So even if he comes back, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But yeah, and if he doesn't, it's not even close. Yeah, I'm thinking the Bengals here.
And even like he really hasn't been doing much this season, really, when he has been playing. So I think regardless if he is or isn't playing, I think it is Bengals all the way.
Yeah.
He had a couple metrics like TD percentage and stuff that were pretty good.
He started the season off very, very hot and then fell off quite a bit. And then the injury like really, put a stumble on.
Yeah, I don't know like how how much fire there is, but there's a good amount of smoke with like him and the organization in terms of the conflict with the contract and everything, since he's representing himself and stuff like that. Like, so I think that's why he's probably been sitting out longer than what people expected him to sit out for that injury. So yeah, I hope he signs back there, just because I always love like homegrown drafted talent sticking with their teams. But man, Indianapolis, dude, we got a couple sweet CC's pizzas. Over Lamar.
All right, got a very interesting one here. Got Jaguars and Chargers.
This is the game I'm most looking forward to watching.
Right?
Because both teams are hungry. Both young quarterbacks, both exciting teams to watch. I'm going to give the edge to Justin Herbert because I think he's a special QB. And I think this is his first time in the playoffs as well. I think he wants to not let go of that chance, right? And I think he's got the team to do it. For me, in my opinion, I think he has the best running back in the whole league, Austin Eckler. I think he's a special weapon, and I don't think the Jaguars can stop that.
Yeah.
It's tough to say. One, like, so the Chargers came out last week of the season, and they brought back some players like Bosa and a couple other guys, and it seemed like throughout the game, like injuries started getting re-aggravated, and so they just sort of like backed off, lost the game, unfortunately, knocking the Seahawks down to the fifth seed, the fifth draft spot instead of the third. Terrible. But like, if they go into this game unhealthy, like if those injuries are actually re-aggravated and like things aren't really going, Jaguars got a shot. Jaguars have their coach has a pretty good history of like running to a Super Bowl with an underdog team, right? Took Nick Foles and beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That's pretty crazy. That's something that maybe he knows how to do again. I will favor the Chargers on this, but if the Jaguars actually came and upset them, I wouldn't be too surprised by it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Having seen the Jaguars play this season against the Lions, and they got weapons on that offense. It's just defensively, they're not quite there. I mean, I don't know how they did like after that game, but I know their offense has been performing outstanding, but I just think that defense might be what ends up hurting them. So, yeah, as long as the Chargers, like you were saying, they stay healthy, I think they got a pretty good shot at this.
Yeah. With the Jaguars, like they're such a fun story. Like even though they're in my division, like my team's division, like just coming back from 1-5, 1-7, something like that. They were down bad, dude. They were down bad. And they've had a lack of success so great that even me being a fan of a divisional rival, I like can't hate on them too bad, just because they've had some really rough years. So I probably would be rooting for the Jaguars, just because I think it's just more of an underdog, fun story to root for.
Mhm.
And Justin Herbert screwed me over in fantasy this year. Multiple weeks in a row. Dude,
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
My fantasy football season did not go well either.
bro, I drafted him and he's putting up like 10 points every week. I'm like, and they're
I
winning
tra-
still. And
I
they're
traded
winning.
all my picks for a God Squad team, and then they all got injured when I needed them the most. It's a
That's
bummer.
rough.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So most of us went Chargers, so we'll do that one. Oh, it's doing all the AFC divisional. Okay.
Yeah, it goes through the first round. Oh no,
Well-
it's gonna take us through all the way through the AFC. Okay.
AFC. Yep. So we got Kansas City and the Chargers. I think it was a pretty easy one. I mean,
Yeah.
Chiefs. Like,
hmm
Yeah, the Chiefs. Again, like I was talking about the Niners, Bills. You could easily make an argument that they're the number one seed for a reason, but they were quietly like dominant this year. Like me not being a fan of the team, and me not like checking up on their like. It's like, oh yeah, they're 13-4. Like what? Like they just not as flashy as a couple of their other years with although Mahomes did have that one throw. But it's yeah. I think you could see them in the Super Bowl and not be surprised at all. I think they could do that again easily.
Absolutely.
yep. Alrighty. Got Buff. This is gonna be an interesting one if this has it. Bills and the Bengals.
Ooh.
I'm still going Bills. As much as I love the Bengals, there's just sometimes where non-football stuff affects the team and momentum. And I think they're going to ride this high of DeMar and his recovery as far as it's going to take them. And they're already a strong team to begin with.
Oh yeah.
So like I think the Bills will have enough to overcome the young Bengals for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take on the Bills just because like I'm not sure the Bengals playing in Buffalo in January, how much they're based on that passing
True.
attack. I just don't know if that's going to be sustainable having to play up north that way.
Especially
So
adding snow into it. That's
Yeah, and there's obviously the sort of fire that team's gonna have. I'm gonna go with the Bills on this one. Plus, I just genuinely think the Bills are the better team. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's a credit to the Bengals this season that usually the Super Bowl losers have a big slump. They were able to, they started out rough, but they were able to rally mid-season. Burrow's definitely he's got that dog in him. But with the Bills, like they've been knocking on that door the last couple seasons and just haven't made it to the big game for a variety of reasons.
They're due.
And outcomes.
They're due for it.
And it's like they're obviously what's so awesome is like any given Sunday, but like they are due to get to the game and potentially win it. I think they're due.
Yep. All right, then the big one, AFC Championship game, Chiefs and Bills.
Oh, I can't wait for this game.
Right?
A rematch of the coin flip.
My
From
gosh.
the year past, and I think that's going to be an exciting game to watch. And I truly do not know who would win that game. As much as I said about the Bills having all that outside football stuff behind them, you can't bet against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You really can't. Mahomes is like a god. Man, I don't know who to pick. As a New Yorker, as a upstate New York college student, I'm gonna say the Bills because my friends would kill me if I didn't. But like, it's gonna be a great game either way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I kind of favor the Chiefs in this one. I think the Chiefs are better than they were last year, and they're healthier right now. The Bills have kind of been falling apart on defense. I think it's going to be hard to defend the Chiefs. Going to be playing in a neutral site game, which will affect it. Like, both of these teams have extremely strong atmospheres, so the neutral site is going to be sort of, weird, but I'm just gonna give the advantage to the Chiefs. Like they're just the quality of football that they're playing right now. Like you see, like the against the Raiders, where they're just pulling some weird ring around the rosy crap. Like they just have everything locked in right now. And the Bills started the season off so hot, so on fire, so good, but through injuries and everything else, they just keep sliding down. I got to go with the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot Von Miller's injured, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot about
There's
that.
something to say about just that. Like, there's something to say about consistency in general, but when you're like that caliber of consistency throughout the entire season, like Brett was saying, that quietly dominant. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta go with the Chiefs too. Just that's. If you had the Lions almost beat you by 3 points.
Although the Colts did beat the Chiefs this year, so
True. Don't let Chris hear you say that too loud.
and that was one of the few bright spots, even though that game was like who can mess up the most.
Mm-hmm. All right. What was it? Do we say Vikings or Giants for this one? Or kind of a mix?
Consensus was Vikings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This was Tampa. All right. So we have the Eagles and the Buccaneers.
Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No explanation needed. Eagles.
Yeah.
No.
which is crazy because last year the Eagles, trickled in and
Oh
they
yeah,
really-
yeah.
I really didn't think they deserved to be in the playoffs. That was like one of the few with the we're talking about the 17-game season and they also had the 7th playoff spot for each conference. There's been a couple 7th seeds that have been pretty dang good. Like, I'll throw in the 2020 Colts there when they played the Bills pretty competitively than most.
Mhm.
But then like the Eagles last year, I was like, man, they don't deserve to be in here. Like, and they just got embarrassed by Tom Brady and the Bucks. But the tables have turned, and yeah, man, I think the Eagles would win massively.
Yeah.
Even though they've been kind of iffy a little bit last couple weeks at different points in the season,
Yeah.
I still think Hurts is that dude this year.
Yeah, the fact that they have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown on the same team.
The AJ
is
Brown trade was such a big turnaround for that team. Is insane.
1000%. 1000%. Yeah, Eagles easily.
Yeah. All right. 49ers and Vikings.
It's going to be 30-7 49ers. This is I genuinely don't think the Vikings are very good. Like I said, it's a coin flip between them and the Giants for me in that game. This is the game where the Vikings are going to be thoroughly exposed by a great defense, a good offense. Like they're going to look like not even a professional football team in this game.
Now you were talking about how Brock Purdy is gonna, the fairy tale is gonna end. It's gonna strike midnight. You said the Seahawks weren't gonna be the team to do it. You don't think the Vikings can do it? Because do you agree? Do you agree with like they are like the huge variance team? Like they've obviously won a couple close games. You got to give them credit for that. But you could argue that there's some luck to that as well potentially. Like you don't think they could potentially be a great playoff team?
No, just with the amount of like Brock Purdy's barely going to do anything in this game. Honestly, it's going to be Christian McCaffrey. It's going to be Elijah Mitchell. It's going to be Deebo Samuel. They're going to be running stuff out of the backfield. They're going to be confusing the crap out of this Minnesota team that just hasn't been very good, super inconsistent defending the run. This is going to be just the Vikings are just going to get dismantled on every level.
Yep. Eagles and 49ers. We're kind of boring. We got the 1 and 2 seeds on both sides.
Just like how much more exciting the AFC slate is, I think.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
this
man.
one's the Eagles. This one, like specifically in the ways that the 49ers defense is extremely good, is I think the ways that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be able to beat them. If you have a really good RPO game, if your quarterback's able to get out of the pocket, we've seen it when like Nick Bosa goes up against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes makes that guy look like just a regular dude, even though he's one of the best pass rushers in the game. Jalen Hurts has that same kind of quality. He's so fast. He's able to make throws on the run. He's able to get out of the pocket super quickly. They have these two incredible wide receivers, and the 49ers secondary has been pretty vulnerable at times. Like I will say the one thing that the Philadelphia Eagles have had going against them this year is that their run defense isn't particularly good, but they've actually like been able to kind of shore that up throughout the season and show up at times when they needed to. This is the game where I do think Brock Purdy gets made to look a fool. I think he's going to have to make some big throws. I think he throws at least one, maybe two interceptions in this game. This one, I'm fully on the Eagles.
Dare I say they make him look irrelevant?
Ooh, I see what you did there. I also like I get to watch the Eagles beat the Giants twice a year. It seems like on a yearly basis. I don't know, and I realize he had a bounce back year. I don't know if I trust the run game with Miles Sanders for Eagles as well. Like, I don't think Jalen Hurts can carry that run game all on his own against that Niners defense. So if they could really shut that run game down and become a one-dimensional passing attack, still fantastic. I just think the Niners are better equipped to handle that situation than the Eagles. So I think the Niners would win here. For that reason and that reason only.
Yeah, I'm going to go Niners too, just because I think that defense is just freaking nasty. It's anecdotal just because it's one game, but like the Colts defense, which was actually pretty good this year, like just shut down the Eagles for like 85% of that game. The issue was the Colts offense was the worst in the league, but like they made Hurts, who has a serious case for MVP candidacy this year, like they made him look super mortal. Like, so with the Niners defense and their much better offensive system, I actually think the Niners will take this one.
I agree. Super Bowl, Chiefs and 49ers.
Again, dude, the rematch. Let's go.
Old
Chiefs.
School teams.
Chiefs. It's Chiefs. Just
yeah.
All right, y'all. Chiefs. Alrighty.
Yeah, like I mean,
they're the Chiefs
what are you
at this
do?
point. They're the Yankees of the NFL. I feel like, back in the day.
Alrighty, so there is our bracket. So, honestly, we got AFC side is going to be way more entertaining than NFC side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alrighty, so
Big game.
Any last minute closing thoughts you guys have?
I mean, it was an overall great season. Whether or not the Giants make it out of the first round, I'm proud of this team. I'm proud of the direction it's going. It's been an exciting year in the NFL, for sure. And like I mean, we mentioned it. I'm truly excited to watch the AFC playoff picture because they're all young teams. That's the future of the NFL is going to be on the stage, and I have a feeling it's going to be a fun playoffs. Well, for sure.
The oldest quarterback on the AFC side is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
I know, that's wild.
That's crazy. NFL's got a bright future ahead of them with all these young quarterbacks.
Yeah, very exciting.
All right. Oh, yep, Brett.
Yeah. Thank God the season's over. It was terrible. I had no fun immediately starting week one. No. Yeah, I was talking about how I had Peyton growing up, and then he went to the Broncos, but we had luck. Like, when my team is bad, it's freeing in a way where I don't have to be emotionally invested in football. Where I wish
I had that.
That's just how I cope. It's just how I cope with,
Yeah.
with when my team sucks. But yeah, like fantasy obviously is a huge proponent in diversifying my interest in the league. So yeah, getting to watch Danny Dimes and the Giants have a bounce back season when nobody thought they were gonna be competitive. Same thing with the Seahawks and Geno Smith. Like it's what's so awesome about like sports and the NFL is attaching onto these storylines, and so um, yeah, it's fun. Get to watch the playoffs stress free. Um, Eat lots of good food, so I'm excited just to sit back, relax, and chill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was really fun. Like Brett got to go from Peyton to Andrew Luck. My team has gotten to go from one generational quarterback to another.
You don't
right
get to
now.
say that when Andrew Luck retired on my birthday, okay? You don't get
Ooh.
to go from Russell Wilson to Geno Smith. Just like two incredibly talented generational franchise quarterbacks. That's been amazing. I can't wait. I really do hope the Seahawks re-sign Geno Smith. I think
Mhm.
I like if they just like get him some interior linemen and a better defense. Like I genuinely think this is a really strong competitive team. So I like where we're at right now, and they just need to build off of this. So hope he
real
sticks
quick.
around.
Kyle, do you hate Geno Smith?
I hate Geno.
Yeah.
I don't hate Geno.
Because he ended Eli's Iron
No,
Man career.
I hate the coaching staff.
Okay, McAdoo.
I hate McAdoo. I hate that string of Giants coaching that we've had. Joe Judge, get out of here. It's been that's the reason why the Giants have been bad, in my opinion. That
Yeah.
they made some bad decisions.
Oh, also Loki, the Geno Smith revenge tour of beating every single
yeah.
team that he was all four teams that he had been previously on.
I love that.
Yeah.
Making his first
Mhm.
playoff start. Like I just like blown away by that guy, and then just like dropping amazing sound clips throughout the year.
Oh, what was that one quote about like the doubters or something like that? Like,
Where they asked him like if he had felt like he had been written off by the NFL, he said,
I ain't right back.
I didn't write back though. Didn't write back though.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And for me, it's like this is the only way to go is up for us. We had a great season, and biggest thing we need to fix is our defense. A lot of secondary issues. I think our front seven is actually it's great. Like we have great linebackers, really good defensive linemen. It's just our secondary needs a lot of work because we were getting torn apart in the passing game.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, I really hope we keep our offensive and defensive coordinators. There's already been talks of teams asking if they can interview both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson. So I'm literally like, no, you can't have them. We just got them. We just have this crew together. You can't take them. They're ours. So I'm really hoping they don't go anywhere, but I understand sometimes, just got to go where the money is, It happens. So really hoping that doesn't happen, but I am very scared that it will because a lot of times, a lot of the media is saying that they could both be head coaches in the NFL with how good they did this season. So
isn't that wild? Like y'all are potentially like a team to get like coaches poached from. Like that's wild, man. That's wild. Because
The
like
Lions are the new Patriots coaching staff.
right, but the thing that like really in Hard Knocks was really cool seeing that all these coaching staff were former players. So
Yeah,
they
I
know
love that.
what to do in these situations. They know how to I guess cope with the pressure of these big time games. So
yeah, and with y'all and Campbell, like y'all got like I was talking about with like Reich, like watching those early games, and there's a lot of moving pieces and stuff, but like you could just see in his eyes, like they're holding the clipboard or whatever, and it's like like the magic's gone, like the magic he had with some of those 10-6, 11-5 teams back in the day, like that's not that's great, but like that's not even there anymore. Y'all still have that, and you guys have been improving year over year, and he's awesome guy to root for, and the Lions are a fun team to root for as a neutral fan, and yeah, I just hope y'all see more success year over year.
yeah, I'm hoping so because it's I've been to the bad place. I don't want to go back. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. This has been a really fun time. So before we head out, why don't you guys let me know where people can find you? Start with you, Brett.
So I stream, a couple times a week over at twitch.tv/JimTasty, where I play a variety of games. But I'm also a member of this YouTube content group called Shared Screens, where we talk about everything under the sun from the Wii U to the Wii U. So check us out over there. We do a lot of cool stuff over there. Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. K-Step. If you're into PlayStation, I do a weekly PlayStation podcast called The Trophy Room. This week we're doing our Game of the Year award show. Nice 3+ hour show, so check that out. And if you want to know what's going on with the latest in indie games, go check out 61indie.com, SIXONEINDIE, and 61 IndieCast on podcast services. We're doing another mini indie showcase before PAX East, where we're going to do our own little E3 style presentation with a bunch of really cool indie games. So check that out.
Awesome. Love the last one, so can't wait for this one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Jose.
I got a couple cool things going on right now. So I'm streaming a couple times a week on twitch.tv/Jose Ruckus, getting back in the streaming grind. I'm putting out a couple TikToks a week. Just look up Jose Ruckus on TikTok. And then I got a podcast called HBO Max. You can find that on youtube.com/@HBOMAKS. I do that with McKenna May, who's like the best person in the world. She's amazing.
Yes.
It's a movie review podcast that barely covers movies. And then I also got a really cool sports show available on twitch.tv/fan-controlled-sports, youtube.com/@fan-controlled-sports. I do it on the Fan Control Network with my buddy AJ Ka. That show's awesome. It's a sports debate show that isn't like your average sports debate show. We don't even stick to sports. That's just an awesome opportunity to work with Josh McCouga and the guys over there. So watch that show so they let me keep doing it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. And as for me, I'm going to be mostly found over at youtube.com/shared screens. Where we're going to be covering The Last of Us, which is this Sunday. So hyped for that. We're going to be staying up late that night and recording a podcast to get it out to you guys Monday. And yeah, today we just released our Game of the Year podcast. Nice, quick little hour and a half. So yeah, go check that out. And I believe let's just shared screens.
I heard you guys talk about Wii U a whole lot too, right? Is that?
We had a podcast, yeah. So, yeah. I guess we do. Yeah.
Yeah. We because the Wii U's 10th anniversary was in November, so we just from a historical perspective, right? Like Nintendo's had so many successes, but the Wii U is like their biggest failure. So it was interesting to take a look back at why it failed, but then find the beauty in some of that failure, because there's good games on there and good experiences. So it was a fun time.
Yeah. And with that, that's going to be it for this NFL recap and playoff predictions. Thank you all so much for watching. I think I might put this up on YouTube, so if you missed any of it, you can go check it out there. And we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.